You ever notice how the very moment you think a woman is into you, she suddenly starts acting like you don't exist? Calls slow down, texts become short, eye contact gone, and you're sitting there, frustrated, confused, asking yourself, did I do something wrong? No, you didn't. And yes, she still loves you. See, here's the secret. Women ignore you the most when their feelings are the deepest. It's not rejection, it's self-protection. Love for us is heavy, it's raw, it's terrifying. So when a woman goes silent, it's not always because she's lost interest. Sometimes it's because she's fighting herself. She's trying to hold back the flood of emotion before it drowns her. Let me explain. When a woman is deeply in love, her mind is loud. What if I'm too much? What if I scare him away? What if he doesn't feel the same? That silence you feel from her, that's her armor. Ignoring you is the safest way she knows to guard her heart while still loving you from a distance. So, the next time you feel her pull away, don't rush to blame her, and don't rush to chase her. Sit with it. Understand it. Because behind that wall of quiet is a heart beating louder for you than you realize. Ignoring you isn't the absence of love. Sometimes, it's the proof of just how deep it runs. When a woman falls deeply in love, her actions may not always align with what people expect love to look like. Many assume that if someone is in love, they'll constantly want to be around their partner, reach out frequently, and openly express affection. While that can be true, the reality is often more complex, especially for women who feel deeply. Silence, in this case, should never be taken as disinterest. It's not the absence of love, it's often the presence of it in its most vulnerable form. When a woman goes quiet, it can feel confusing. You may begin to question yourself, wondering if you said something wrong, if she's lost attraction, or if she's moved on. The mind naturally jumps to conclusions, but silence is rarely about indifference. Instead, it can be a signal that her emotions are overwhelming, and she needs a moment to process them. Love is powerful. It disrupts the comfort of control. For a woman who truly cares, love means opening up a part of herself that she can't shield with logic or toughness. That rawness can be frightening. So instead of expressing every thought or feeling, she may retreat into silence to regain composure. This silence is a language of its own. It says, I feel more than I can safely show right now. In fact, the stronger her emotions, the more likely she may be to step back. This isn't because she doesn't want to be close, but because closeness amplifies vulnerability. Silence becomes a pause, a way to steady herself before allowing you to see the depth of what she feels. Think of it like standing at the edge of a cliff. The view is breathtaking, but the height is dizzying. Love feels like that cliff, beautiful yet terrifying. A woman in silence is standing at the edge, marveling at what she feels while at the same time trying not to lose her balance. Her retreat isn't about rejecting you, it's about protecting herself from falling too hard too fast. It's important to understand that silence is not a void. It's not the absence of communication, but a form of communication in itself. A quiet woman may be testing the safety of the connection, watching how you respond, gauging whether her emotions are too much, or giving herself space to ensure her love isn't clouding her judgment. For her, pulling back doesn't mean she's not invested. On the contrary, it can mean she's so invested that she's scared of how much you matter. When you interpret her silence as disinterest, you miss the deeper truth. She cares enough to pause. She cares enough to guard what she feels until she's sure it's safe to let it flow freely. Recognizing this can change the way you approach relationships. Instead of pushing against the silence, you can give it space, showing patience and understanding. Silence, when seen with empathy, reveals itself not as emptiness but as a quiet form of love, one that waits for the right moment to be fully expressed. When a woman is deeply in love, ignoring the person she cares about can seem contradictory, almost illogical. To the one on the receiving end, it feels like rejection or avoidance, but more often than not, it is an act of self-protection. Love has a way of making people vulnerable, and for many women that vulnerability is both beautiful and terrifying. To love deeply is to hand someone else the power to hurt you, whether intentionally or not. Ignoring, then, becomes a way of creating a shield, a temporary barrier to protect her emotions from being exposed too quickly or too completely. Self-protection in love is not about withholding affection because feelings are absent. It's about managing the intensity of those feelings. When emotions surge too strongly, silence and distance can feel safer than expressing them all at once. A woman who ignores the man she loves may be trying to steady herself, to guard her heart against potential disappointment. rejection, or even the fear of being misunderstood. In her mind, withdrawing into silence buys her time to process what she feels and to decide how much of it she dares to reveal. This act of pulling away is often misinterpreted. Many think she has lost interest or grown cold, when in fact her silence can mean the exact opposite. The deeper her love, the more she has to lose, and the more she has to protect. By ignoring, she is not erasing her emotions, she is safeguarding them. It is as if she is saying, "I love you so much that I need to be careful. I need to make sure this is safe for me before I let go completely." That pause, that quiet distance, is her way of ensuring she does not overwhelm herself or expose her heart before the foundation of trust feels solid. It's also important to recognize that self-protection is often born from past experiences. A woman who has been hurt before may instinctively guard herself even more fiercely. To her, ignoring is not cruelty but survival, a way of preventing old wounds from reopening. She may fear being too available, too vulnerable, or too transparent, worrying that if she reveals the full depth of her love, it might be taken for granted or not returned equally. Her silence then becomes both a defense mechanism and a test, a way to measure whether her feelings are safe in your hands. What seems like rejection is, in truth, an invisible boundary meant to preserve her emotional well-being. It is not love denied but love delayed, held back until she feels reassured. Understanding this can shift the way her silence is perceived. Instead of seeing ignoring as distance, one can recognize it as a moment of self-preservation, a natural human instinct to protect the most delicate parts of oneself. In love, ignoring is not always a sign of absence. Sometimes it is the clearest sign that what she feels runs so deep, she has to shield it until she is ready to surrender it fully. Love, when it is real and deep, does not feel light or casual. It carries weight, the kind that sits in the chest and lingers in the mind long after words or actions are exchanged. For a woman who is truly in love, this weight comes from knowing that her heart is no longer entirely in her control. She feels vulnerable in ways she may not have experienced before. Every glance, every word, every action from the one she loves carries meaning, and with that meaning comes both joy and risk. Love feels heavy because it is precious, and vulnerability is the price of holding something so meaningful. When a woman loves deeply, she is no longer just thinking about herself. Her happiness, her security, and even her sense of worth can begin to intertwine with how safe she feels in that love. That kind of connection can be overwhelming. She may overthink whether she is giving too much or not enough. She may wonder whether she is truly understood or if her feelings are being taken seriously. The intensity of love forces her to confront the possibility of loss, betrayal, or disappointment. The very depth that makes her love beautiful also makes it frightening. This is where the vulnerability lies. Vulnerability in love is not weakness, it is exposure. It is standing before someone emotionally unclothed, hoping that they will not turn away or misuse that openness. For many women, this exposure feels like a gamble. To love is to risk being hurt, to risk not being loved back in the same way, or to risk being abandoned after giving so much of oneself. That risk can feel heavier than anything else in her life. It explains why she might hesitate, why she might withdraw, and why her love does not always show itself in obvious ways. The heaviness of love also comes from responsibility. Love asks her to care, to nurture, and to consider the well-being of another person. It is not a fleeting emotion but a constant awareness, a steady pull on the heart. Even when she tries to distract herself, the thought of the person she loves returns. This mental and emotional gravity is what makes love both breathtaking and exhausting. It is beautiful because it connects her to something larger than herself, yet it is exhausting because it demands trust and courage in every moment. When love feels heavy, it does not mean it is unwanted or burdensome. Instead, it means it is real. Anything worth holding on to carries weight. The vulnerability that accompanies it is proof that she cares enough to risk being hurt. A woman who feels this weight is not weak but deeply human, experiencing love in its rawest form. She knows that with love comes the possibility of heartbreak, but also the possibility of joy beyond measure. The heaviness and vulnerability are not flaws of love, they are its essence, reminding us that to love is to step into the unknown with both fear and hope intertwined. Silence often carries more meaning than words. For a woman deeply in love, silence can act as a shield, a form of armor that protects her from the uncertainties and risks that love naturally brings. Love has the power to expose the most tender parts of the heart, And with that exposure comes fear, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of giving more than she will receive. Instead of laying her emotions bare, she may retreat into silence, not because she feels less, but because she feels too much. That silence becomes her protective covering, a way of holding back until she is certain it is safe to be fully vulnerable. Armor, by definition, is not worn because someone is weak, but because they are aware of the possibility of being hurt. In the same way, a woman's silence is not a lack of strength or passion, but a conscious choice to guard her feelings. Speaking openly about the depth of her love could feel like handing over a piece of her soul. If she fears that her emotions will not be received with care, silence allows her to keep that peace intact. It is her way of controlling what is shared and what is concealed, giving her a sense of safety while she navigates the intensity of her feelings. This armor of silence can also be a test. It allows her to observe how the person she loves responds without constant reassurance or visible expressions of affection. Does he notice her quietness? Does he assume the worst? Or does he remain steady, patient, and understanding? In this way, her silence becomes more than protection. It becomes a subtle way of measuring the strength of the bond. If her love is strong but unspoken, she can gauge whether it is the connection itself or just the performance of affection that holds weight. Silence as armor is not emptiness. It is not absence. It is full of unsaid words, unexpressed feelings, and emotions waiting for the right time to be revealed. Behind her quiet exterior, she may be replaying conversations in her mind, analyzing her actions, or wrestling with the depth of her emotions. Her silence may look like distance, but in truth, it is a space she creates to keep herself safe while still holding on to love. It's important to remember that armor does not mean disconnection. A knight wears armor not because they don't want to fight, but because they want to fight while surviving. A woman's silence works the same way. She is still in the relationship, still deeply invested, but she is choosing to protect herself while she loves. Far from being a sign of indifference, her silence shows the gravity of what she feels. She loves enough to fear losing. She cares enough to guard herself until trust is stronger than fear. Her quiet is not rejection. It is the armor she wears until she is sure her heart is safe in the hands of the one she loves. When a woman creates distance in a relationship, it can easily be misunderstood as disinterest or withdrawal. Yet, for someone who is deeply in love, that very distance can be a reflection of how much she actually feels. Love in its truest form is not light or casual. It is intense, overwhelming, and often frightening. The closer she feels to someone, the greater the risk of losing herself in that connection. Creating distance, then, becomes a way to balance the depth of her emotions. It is not the absence of love, but evidence of just how strongly that love runs within her. When emotions are shallow, they are easy to express. Affection is casual, words flow freely, and closeness is constant because there is little at stake. But when the feelings are profound, every word, every glance, and every moment feels weighted. A woman who is deeply in love may step back, not because she wants space from the person she loves, but because she needs space to process the intensity of what she feels. Distance allows her to catch her breath, to quiet her thoughts, and to steady her heart. Without that pause, the power of her emotions could overwhelm her. This distance is often a paradox. The stronger her attachment, the more she may appear to pull away. It is not because she wants less, but because she feels more than she can manage all at once. In her silence, in her temporary withdrawal, she is saying, "This love matters so much to me that I have to handle it carefully." That care, expressed as distance, is her way of honoring the depth of her emotions while protecting her own sense of balance. It is also worth noting that love invites vulnerability, and vulnerability can be frightening. When someone becomes central to her happiness, the possibility of disappointment or rejection grows equally large. By creating distance, she gives herself the space to protect against heartbreak before it has a chance to happen. Her stepping back is not indifference. It is a safeguard. It allows her to stay in love without feeling consumed by the fear of what that love could cost her. From the outside, this behavior may feel confusing, even hurtful. But to see her distance as lack of care is to miss the truth. The truth is that love, when deep, requires moments of retreat. It requires pauses to process, to reflect, and to protect. Her distance is not a void, it is filled with thought, with care, and with the quiet work of managing emotions too powerful to express constantly. Distance, therefore, is not the opposite of closeness. It is a part of it. It shows that the bond runs so deep that she cannot simply treat it casually. She must step back to protect what she feels, to preserve herself, and to ensure the love she carries is nurtured carefully. Her distance is proof of depth, a reminder that the stronger the connection, the more she needs room to hold it safely. In any relationship, but especially when love runs deep, patience and understanding are the glue that holds everything together. When a woman seems distant, quiet, or guarded, the instinctive reaction might be to push for answers, to demand clarity, or to assume the worst. But love does not thrive under pressure, it thrives under trust. Patience allows space for emotions to unfold naturally, and understanding ensures that silence or distance is not misinterpreted as rejection. Together, they create the foundation where love can breathe, grow, and deepen without fear of being crushed by expectations. A woman who is in love may struggle with vulnerability. She may hold back not because she doesn't care, but because she cares more than she knows how to express. In such moments, impatience can wound her, making her feel misunderstood or even unsafe in the relationship. But patience communicates something powerful: that her emotions are valid, that she is not being rushed, and that she has the freedom to reveal her heart in her own time. This reassurance gives her the confidence to slowly lower her guard, knowing she will not be judged for her silences or hesitations. Understanding is just as crucial. To truly love someone is to recognize that their way of expressing affection may look different from what you expect. A woman's silence, her moments of withdrawal, or her need for space may seem puzzling at first. But understanding reframes those actions, seeing them not as a lack of love, but as a sign of how deeply she feels. Instead of taking it personally, understanding invites empathy. It says, "I see your silence, and I know it doesn't mean you care less. It means you are protecting something precious." That perspective alone can transform tension into connection. Patience and understanding also build trust. When a woman feels that her emotions are received with kindness instead of frustration, she learns that her love is safe with you. She learns that she does not need to perform affection constantly or explain every silence. Instead, she can exist in the relationship as her whole self, flawed, vulnerable, uncertain, but deeply committed. Trust grows in that space, and with it, love deepens. Without patience and understanding, even strong emotions can falter under the weight of pressure and misinterpretation. The beauty of patience is that it is not passive. It is active love, a conscious decision to wait, to listen, and to accept. The beauty of understanding is that it does not demand perfection but embraces humanity. When these two qualities meet, love has the environment it needs to flourish, even in moments of silence or distance. In the end, patience and understanding are not small acts. They are the greatest expressions of love. They say, "I believe in us enough to give you time. I trust you enough to accept your silences. I love you enough to wait for your heart to feel safe." And often, that is exactly what turns quiet, fragile love into something lasting and unbreakable.